Thank you. Good afternoon, Democrats. Please have a seat. I'm getting a standing ovation for nothing. Let me say a few words and then I can say it. So my name is Salman Bojani and I'm blessed to be the Democratic nominee, your Democratic nominee for Texas House District 92. I'm thrilled to see so many of us here right before the election, a crucial election that starts tomorrow. And I'm thrilled also to welcome back our next governor, Beto O'Rourke! Thank you. Thank you. So tomorrow, early voting starts. What are we going to do tomorrow? Tomorrow, we will win back healthcare rights for all Texans. Tomorrow, we will protect our voting rights for everybody. And tomorrow, we will fully fund our schools and pay teachers what they deserve. I'll sum it up in this way. Tomorrow, we change Texas. But let me tell you what's important. It's up to us, and it will take each one of us to get there. We need to tell our friends, our neighbors, our families that to secure the future that we see for our kids, we need to come out and turn out in large numbers in this election. So we're really honored to have with us a lot of elected officials and candidates, which I'll read out right now. So we have Congressman Mark VC from District 33. We have Representative Nicole Collier right here from District 95. We have City Council Member Chris Nettles from District 8. We have candidate Deborah Peoples, candidate for Tarrant County. And then we have candidate Ruby Faye, candidate for Tarrant County District Clerk. And then we have Luis Miguel Cifuentes, candidate for State Board of Education, District 11. We have John Brender right there, who is the candidate for Tarrant County, Fort 88th Court. We have Carol Parker, who is the State Democratic Executive Committee, District 9. Where do I see Carol? And then we have Mark Green, State Democratic Executive Committeeman from District 10. We also have Imad Salem, State Democratic Committee for representing Muslim Democrats. And then we have Kay Park from Parker County Chair and the Senate District Committee woman from 30. And if you're a precinct chair, can you please stand and wave to be recognized? None of this would have been possible without your support. Thank you for all that you do to keep Texas blue. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about myself and then I'll get out of the way. I immigrated to America when I was 19 years old, worked at gas stations, mopping floors, cleaning restrooms, and stocking shelves for just $6 an hour. From there, I went up, worked hard to be a cashier, then a manager, and bought my first business here in Tarrant County. So as if that was not enough, and my power comes from my wife right here, Nima, as if that was not enough, I put myself through law school in the evening program at SMU, worked during the day, studied at night to become an attorney. It took 4 years, but I was blessed. I've lived the American dream, guys. It has been blessed. Truly blessed. But I did not get politically involved until 2016, and we all know what happened that year. Oh, it was a very dark day on November in 2016 for me, my family, and majority of Americans. And the only solutions I could think of at that moment was to run for office and get a seat at the table. So I did just that in 2018. I ran for city council in my city of Euless. Thank you. And some of you I see from Euless, but I got a lot of hatred for being a Muslim, for being an immigrant, for being a Democrat. And the only thing we could think about is give them positivity, right? Give them solutions to better my beautiful favorite city of Euless. And we did a lot of work. We knocked on over 10,000 doors, made thousands of phone calls, got hundreds of first-time voters out to vote, and made history by being the first minority ever elected to the Euless City Council. And I was so blessed in 2020 during the pandemic, I was elected as the mayor pro tem for the city of Euless. But folks, this was not enough because the state is where the issue is, and hopefully we'll have a new governor. But right now, I'm running for the Texas State House in District 92, and we're poised to make history in a huge way. So let me tell you, there are three things that will be making history. I will be the first Muslim, but with your help, I will be the first Muslim ever elected in the history of the state of Texas to the Texas legislature. So second thing, with your help, I'll be the first South Asian ever elected in the Texas state legislature in the history. Finally, the third thing, I'll be the first person of color to ever represent District 92. But like I said, we can't do this without your support, without the support of your family and your neighbors. So let's make a pledge right here, right now. Bring 4 more people with you, each one of you. Bring 4 more. So this should be 4 times what we have to the polls and get them out to vote, because that's what it's going to take, right? And what we're going to do is, if I want to record your excitement for Beto and for Turn Texas Blue, if you guys are okay, let's make some noise on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Woo! So this is gonna go on a TikTok and a lot of social media. Please like it. With that, I'm so excited to introduce our current Congressman Mark Vesey from District 33. Please come on over.
Thank you, Representative. I'm already calling it. This man is going to the Texas legislature. He is on his way to Austin, Texas. Democratic activist, Democratic precinct chairs, Democratic elected officials, Democrats for Beto O'Rourke, Independents for Beto O'Rourke, Republicans for Beto O'Rourke. We are going to make Beto O'Rourke the next governor of the state of Texas. Tomorrow is when the day starts. We're going to get all of our friends out to go and early vote. And I know that everybody in here is going to go and early vote. That's a foregone conclusion. You don't need to bring no voter registration cards to this event. Everybody in here is going to vote. But you know that person in your family, you know that next door neighbor, that they're discouraged, that they feel like that it's not going to make a difference, that nothing is going to change. But I'm telling you, if we elect Beto O'Rourke to Austin, if we make him the next governor of the state of Texas, we're going to see lots of change. We're going to see a governor that's going to make working on our electric grid real. We have over 1 million people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that don't have health care insurance. We're going to have a governor that's finally going to make expanding Medicaid in this state a reality. And we have a governor that's going to finally get rid of that damn STAR test. I think as a parent of a 16-year-old, I got to tell you, I think that is music to all of our ears. But we got to do our part, and we have got to get out the vote. Let me tell you, I don't represent this area in the U.S. House of Representatives. My district starts on the north side of Fort Worth and goes over in the East Fort Worth. But I grew up over here. I grew up in the Como community. My grandfather was a pastor over in the Como community. And I saw, as I'm about to really date myself here, Beto, I saw a movie called The Empire Strikes Back here, First Run, when I was a kid at this theater, and another Matthew Broderick movie y'all probably have never heard of called War Games. And those were great memories. Those were amazing memories, some memories that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. But the memories that we are going to make on November the 8th, those are the memories. Those are the memories that our children and our grandchildren and all generations will be proud of for many, many years to come, because we're going to make this man the next governor of the state of Texas. And let me tell you something. I'm going to ask y'all one more time, and it may not be the last time, but I'm going to ask y'all one more time. Man, please dig deep. Let me tell you something. You are never, ever, and I tell this to anybody that's running for office, you are never going to knock on enough doors. I think that's great that people volunteer and go and knock on doors, but you're never going to knock on enough doors. We have 30 million people that live in the state of Texas now? We have 30 million people that live in this state. You're not going to knock on enough doors. You're not going to kiss enough babies. You need money to be able to communicate with voters in a state as large as ours. 254 counties that this man has visited. Yeah. I want y'all to give this man some more gas money. Go online, donate, give, make contributions. Every little bit counts, because we're going to need it until November the 8th so Beto O'Rourke can communicate on his way to becoming our next governor. Absolutely, absolutely. And the great thing about Beto O'Rourke on his run to governor is that he has a great group of Democrats here that are running for office in Tarrant County, one of the last Republican counties in the country, one of the last urban Republican counties, and we are about to turn it blue because we have an amazing group. We have an amazing group of people here running county-wide that are going to help turn Tarrant County blue along with Beto O'Rourke. And one of those people are here with me today. I'm going to ask Deborah Peoples, who's running for county judge. Deborah Peoples, come on down. Deborah Peoples, come on down. Tell them how you're about to turn Tarrant County blue, making you the next Tarrant County judge and Beto O'Rourke the next governor of the state of Texas.
Well, my name is Deborah Peoples, and I am going to be your next county judge. I love it, because I'm here to tell my opponent that we're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back with education. We're moving forward. We're not going back with health care, Ruby. We're moving forward. We're not going back with our teachers. We're moving forward. And you know how we're going to do it? So 4 years ago, Amy, I had the absolute honor to introduce an amazing, amazing human being. Not a candidate, Krista, but a human being. And I started my introduction by saying, there are giants in the land. There are giants in the land that refuse to fix the grid. There are giants in this land that are withholding pay from our teachers and denying our children an education. There are giants in this land that are holding our people hostage and not allowing them to get adequate health care. There are evil giants in this land that are allowing our children to be killed, and they aren't doing a damn thing about it. But there are also giant killers. Oh! And 4 years ago, I met a giant killer. I met a champion. I met a defender. I met an advocate for the people of Texas. And this giant killer on November the 8th is gonna slay the giants in Texas. give you my favorite giant killer, Beto O'Rourke.
Fort Worth, Tarrant County, how we doing? How's everybody doing? Yeah! Yes! I gotta tell you, there is nowhere... Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Listen, that is why we are here the night before early voting begins at 7 a.m. tomorrow. 254 counties in this state, and we picked Tarrant County to spend this last night to get us fired up to make sure that we win. Because you all literally have that fighting spirit. One of the first times that Deborah Peoples introduced me to an audience here in this county, when I was a no-name nobody from West Texas, taking on the junior senator from the state of Texas, she introduced me wearing boxing gloves on her hands. Say, hey, Beto, we are in a fight right now, and we need a fighter in Texas, and she has fought every single day of her life for this community. Imagine her having her in the county judge's office fighting for us day in and day out. Let's get after it and vote for her tomorrow. And imagine having Salman Bojani as our partner in the state legislature, making this community proud. And Mark Vesey showed up a couple of weeks ago while we were knocking on doors. And look, some members of Congress, I get it, are really busy. It's an important job. You got to fly back and forth to Washington, D.C. You got to be there for your constituents. You're voting on important stuff. But he understands what a moment of truth we are in right now. And he wanted to make sure he was doing all he could with what he had right where he was. And so he met me in his forefathers' and foremothers' neighborhood of Como. And we knocked on door after door where they knew Mark, they knew the VC name. And people started coming out of their homes. Remember the Kennedy family? All 6 or 7 of those sisters came out, had grown up in there, raised their kids, raised their grandkids, so fired up to vote. They then signed up to go knock on doors as well. You all are getting the job done right here. It's why we spent election night during the March primary in Tarrant County. It's why I'm here right now, because look, when we all gathered in 2018 under Deborah Peoples' guidance, and you all answered the call, and you knocked on doors, and you talked to your parents and your sisters and your brothers, your friends, your family, your neighbors, you brought all of them out as well. Not only did we produce the largest voter turnout in Texas history since 1970, not only was young voter turnout up 504% from the previous midterm election, go young people. Not only did we help Colin Allred get elected and flip control of the House of Representatives from red to blue, elect 12 new state House Democrats, 17 black women to judgeships in Harris County, in the most diverse city in the country. But you and I, all of us together, Democrats, Independents, Republicans alike, allowed us to win this county for the first time since 1994. And this time, we're going to win it again along with the rest of the state and bring this home on the night of November 8th. You ready? And I know we're going to do it because we're fighting for the right people, for the right things at the right moment, for every woman to make her own decisions about her own body, her own future, her own health care. We're fighting to prioritize the lives of our kids over the interests of the NRA or the gun lobby or any special interest in the state of Texas. And those educators who find themselves so underpaid, so under attack, so forced to deny the true story and history of the state of Texas right now, asked to turn in the parents of the transgender students in their classroom and perform to this high-stakes, high-pressure test that in no way effectively measures the potential of those kids or the effort we're expending on their behalves. After we win, we are paying every educator in this state enough to just work one job instead of 2 or 3 jobs. We're going to ensure every retired educator has a cost of living adjustment every year going forward so you can afford to be retired. And we're going to treat you with enough respect when you say to us, look, I need more valuable classroom time with these kids. And so we're going to cancel the STAR test, allow you to focus on them. Make sure that you're helping these kids who've just come through 2 years of trauma, 2 years of learning loss, 2 years of a pandemic where many of them have lost their grandparents. Some of their folks have lost their jobs. Many have lost their homes. You are literally trying to get them through right now. And the last thing you need is another hoop to jump through, another punitive test that determines your future, your fate, your fortune in that classroom or in your district. We need to make sure that we bring more teachers in and keep the ones we have. You all are our heroes, and we are going to treat you that way. For the veterans who are here, the women and men who put their lives on the line for this country, who served us and did everything this country asked you to do. And we spared no expense to enlist you, to train you, to equip you, to send you out there, maybe to lose your life, maybe to take the life of somebody else in the name of this country. And we find that when you have come back, somehow we are found wanting in the resources necessary to connect you with the care or that roof over your head. Despite being the 9th largest economy on the planet, there are hundreds of homeless veterans right now in the state of Texas sleeping under bridges on the side of the road. What if we decided we will spare no expense, we'll pay any price, we'll bear whatever burden necessary to connect that veteran with the care that she needs here in Texas, to put that roof over their head. And when they come back from that visit to the VA, if they're able to get in, and they say, look, they were all too ready to prescribe me an opioid, to which I might become addicted, and from which I might die, as have tens of thousands of our fellow Americans. But there's something else that I could use that relieves my symptoms, that allows me to sleep, that restores my appetite. But to use that in Texas makes me a criminal in the eyes of the law. That's why we are going to legalize marijuana in the state of Texas after we win this election. And because we know that all Texans of all races, of all ethnicities, use marijuana at roughly the same rate, which, judging by your reaction, is a lot, right? We know that disproportionately it will be black and brown Texans who are stopped, who are frisked, who are arrested, who are incarcerated, who upon release have to check a box on every employment application form saying that they have this conviction, every student loan application form saying they have this conviction, every small business application form saying they have this conviction. That's why we're going to expunge the arrest records for anyone who has served time for possession of marijuana in the state of Texas. We're going to get this right. We are all sick and tired of being the least insured state in America. What does that even mean? What it means is that more kids die of diabetes in this state than anywhere in America. What it means is that the largest provider of mental health care services in the state of Texas today is the county jail system in the state of Texas today. Meeting a young woman in Lufkin, Texas not too long ago, and she says, Beto, my brother with untreated schizophrenia, who earns too much to afford Medicaid in Texas, but not enough for private insurance, literally gets arrested on purpose to go to the one place he can receive any kind of care at all, no matter how insufficient and immoral that might be. We can do so much better. We expand Medicaid, bring $10 billion of our own federal income taxes back every year, connect more people with care, hire more doctors and providers and psychologists and therapists, stand up some of these rural hospitals that have been closed down. We create hundreds of thousands of jobs. And the kicker is we can lower your property taxes in the bargain, right? You're no longer on the hook for paying for uncompensated indigent care. But how about this? Nicole Collier led a walkout from the floor of the House last legislative session because the Republican majority was trying to take your right to vote away. She even went so far as to travel out of state, risking arrest, maybe even losing her job in the process, certainly not for herself, but for all of us. 246 years into this experiment, which más o menos has gotten better decade after decade. Right at the beginning, you had better be white and own property if you wanted to vote, and you must understand that property could have included other human beings. By 1965, we in Texas, through LBJ, had created the first true multiracial democracy in America. But nowhere is it under greater attack than in this state right now. In this state right now, it is harder to vote. It is harder to get your name on the rolls and be registered to vote than in any of the other 49 states in the union. And to put a point to it, in the March primary, a 95-year-old World War II veteran. In other words, this guy was willing to give his life to fight fascism half a world away, to defend democracy here at home. He had his ballot by mail rejected not once, but 3 separate times. Now, I don't know if he was a Republican or a Democrat. It doesn't matter. No me importa. But in this democracy that he fought to defend, he should be able to cast a ballot. So when we win, we're following Nicole's lead, and we're going to make sure that we have online voter registration, automatic voter registration, same-day voter registration. We replace this system of gerrymandering where members of Congress choose their voters with a citizen-led redistricting commission where the people choose the districts. And then this one, just because I think it's the best idea I've heard, we're going to replace Confederate Heroes Day as a state holiday with Election Day as a state holiday so you can take the day off of work and actually vote. We're going to get all this done. But first, and most importantly, we got to get past Greg Abbott. And look, if you see it from my perspective, this is a bonus. He is arguably the worst governor in the United States of America. And we get to run against him. Now look, I don't for a second think that Greg Abbott wakes up in the morning wanting to see kids shot in their classroom, or for the grid to fail here in the state of Texas, or for your property taxes to have gone up $20 billion over the last 8 years. But after 8 years, it's very clear that he's either incapable of or unwilling to do the things necessary to make it better. So we just got to turn the page and vote for change starting tomorrow. You all with me? And if there's that person in your life who's like, I'm really struggling to figure this out, who I'm going to vote for in this next election. And listen, let's be open-minded about this. Let's welcome them in. Let's not judge anybody or shut anybody out, right? There are folks who do not have the luxury of following politics the way that some of us in this room might. They may be working too many $7.25 an hour jobs. That's why we got to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, by the way, going forward. They may be taking care of their folks, raising their kids. They're just busy with life, and they're just tuning in right now. I've got some numbers that you can remember and that you can share with them. This is Greg Abbott by the numbers. So the number 2, it was 2 months ago that the most extreme abortion ban in America went into effect right here in Texas, signed by Greg Abbott. It begins at conception. There is no exception for rape. There is no exception for incest. There is no exception functionally and effectively for the life of the mother. And it's taking place in a state that is at the epicenter of a maternal mortality crisis that is 3 times as deadly for black women in the state of Texas. Now listen, I know that some of us wonder, given how supposedly red or conservative this state is, how we could ever overcome this, even if we win this election. But it bears remembering that 50 years ago, abortion was just as illegal in the state of Texas as it is today. But no one rode to the rescue of Texas women from outside of this state. In fact, it was young Texas women who rode to the rescue of the rest of the country. Jane Roe, her 2 attorneys, Sarah Weddington and Linda Coffey, those 3 young Texas women prevailed upon an all-male United States Supreme Court in a 1973's Roe versus Wade won protection for the right to privacy to make very personal, very painful decisions on your own without government interference or intrusion. So here's my thinking on this. If Texas women won the way in 1973, they are going to win it back in 2022. You with me on this? Here's another number for you. It's now been more than 21 weeks since 19 children and their 2 extraordinary teachers were taken from us in Uvalde, Texas. 21 weeks, and this governor has done not a thing to make it any less likely that any other child in any other part of the state meets the same fate as those 19 kids did on that day. In fact, we've had 5 of the worst mass shootings in United States history in Texas just in the last 5 years. And the only thing this governor has done is make it easy for those who should never have a firearm to begin with to carry them openly on our streets. Those kids were defenseless against an 18-year-old armed with a weapon originally designed for use in combat, the AR-15, more than 50 years ago, engineered, designed, sold to the United States Army to be able to knock down an enemy soldier at 500 yards, penetrate a steel helmet, and keep him down dead. Those kids were not at 500 yards. They didn't have a steel helmet on their heads, maybe a baseball cap, and their parents could only identify their bodies by the shoes that they were wearing. But those kids were also defenseless against a governor who is more beholden to the NRA than he is in the interests of our kids, our families, or our communities. So when we win this election, we're going to do some common sense things that allow us to defend the Second Amendment and better protect the lives of our kids, like raising the age of purchase to 21 for an AR-15, like a red flag law so we can intervene before it's too late, like a universal background check that just says, look, if you want to buy a gun in Texas, we're fine with that. We just want to make sure that we do a little due diligence to make sure you're not going to use it against yourself or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or some kid in a classroom. We do those 3 things, and we'll be able to save more lives in this state and continue a long, proud tradition of responsible gun ownership. You all with me? Got another number for you. It's the number 18. 18 months ago, the temperature dropped in the state of Texas. And in the energy capital of the world, the lights went out. The heat stopped running. The water no longer flowed because it was frozen in the pipes up there in your ceiling, which soon burst and rained down and ruined your floorboards, mold racing up your drywall, back up to your ceiling again. $10 billion in property damage done across the state of Texas because the guy in power would not listen to those who warned him about vulnerabilities in our grid and could not keep the power flowing to those who needed it at that moment of truth. 700 Texans lost their lives. And I'm talking about an 11-year-old boy in Conroe, Texas, whose mother could not pile enough blankets atop his shivering body. A 75-year-old Vietnam-era veteran who could no longer charge his oxygen tank in his house, so he rolled it out to his truck where they found him dead of hypothermia the next morning. Kids who died in the garage with their parents as they ran the engine to their car, or who burned up in their homes when their folks set fire to their furniture, which you would only do if you worried that your kids would freeze to death otherwise. While those people were dying, Greg Abbott ordered the price of electricity pegged at its highest allowable rate, not for minutes, not for hours, but for days. Gas soon started trading at 200 times what it had sold for the day before. Utilities went into bankruptcy. Others took billions of dollars in debt. And you know what? His biggest campaign contributors, some of his best friends, their companies made $11 billion in profit while people were freezing in the state of Texas. The kicker? The grid is still not fixed going into this next winter. You and I are paying higher utility bills, on average $45 more per month. We call that the Abbott tax in this campaign. Feel free to share that with others. But there's an answer to this. We win the election. We weatherize, winterize every part of the grid. We connect ERCOT to the national grid and draw down power when we need it. And for those who stole more than $11 billion from the Texas ratepayer, we're going to take those bastards to court and get every penny back for the people of Texas. Last number I'm going to give you, and that is the number 8. That's the number of years that this guy has been in office. Whatever he seeks to scare us about today, whatever he says is going wrong in Texas, he'll try to blame every other person rather than accept responsibility for himself. We all know where the buck stops in this state, and it's on the governor's desk. So do not allow him to distract you by saying, hey, watch out for that CRT coming to get you, or that transgender child using the bathroom, or this. He'll try to tell us that violent crime is owing to Democrats who have not been in power for more than 2 decades in the state of Texas. I'll tell you what, we know why homicide is up more than 50% over these last 8 years. We used to have a program in Texas called License to Carry. It meant if you wanted to take a gun out on the streets, we're going to do a background check. You're going to take some training so that you're proficient in that weapon. We're going to vet you before you get out there. And in the last 6 years, 38,000 times, local law enforcement said, hey, you know what? This guy over here, that gal, too dangerous to carry that gun in public. They begged Governor Abbott not to sign permitless carry that did away with license to carry into law. He turned his back on them. He ignored them, and he did it anyhow. Now, every one of those 38,000 who were denied and the tens of thousands more who knew better than to ever apply because they never would have passed are armed and loaded on our streets. None of us the safer or the wiser for it. Homicide is up because of Greg Abbott, but there's this as well. Do you remember that press conference where he's gleefully signing into law a total abortion ban, and a reporter says, Mr. Governor, you realize there's no exception for rape. What are you going to do about rape victims? And he says, we're going to eliminate rape in the state of Texas. Remember that? Hear me on this one. More rapes have been committed in Texas than any state in the union. The ability to bring a rapist to justice has declined by half on his watch. There are thousands of untested rape kits at DPS headquarters right now. He does not care about life. He does not care about the life of the woman. If he did, he would do something about the rapists who are on the loose in the state of Texas, who have more rights than the women that they are violating in this state right now. And lastly, he's going to try to scare you about immigrants. And I'm so glad that we just heard Salman Bojani's amazing story of what it meant for him to be able to come to this country. It's the story of who we are. Mark Vesey and I were lucky enough for 6 years to serve with John Lewis, this extraordinary civil rights, voting rights hero, a champion for all times. And one of the things that he would say to us, freshman members of Congress, was that, look, all of our families at one point or another came to this country in a different ship. But today we find ourselves in the same boat. So your family may have come over here 15,000 years ago, crossed the land bridge at the Bering Strait, originally settled this part of Texas. A reminder that where we stand and sit right now was originally indigenous land, right? There are others who were kidnapped on a continent across the Atlantic in Africa, brought here in bondage, forced against their will to build the success and the wealth and the greatness of America without ever being able to partake in it during their lifetimes. Their descendants are among us right now as well. And then there are those like the O'Rourkes, who 150 years ago knew that to stay in Ireland meant to die in Ireland. There was a famine in that country that would ultimately claim the lives of more than 1 million people. And so they came to the one place on the planet that would take them in. It's this country. It's the United States of America. We are a people of the planet over. And our genius is that despite, or maybe because of our differences, we're able to make something very special happen in our communities, in our state, and in our country. So let me say this. These stunts of sending migrants on buses to Chicago or D.C. or New York, building a total of 1.5 miles of border wall, more of an art installation than it is a security device at the border. This involuntary activation of 10,000 members of the Guard who had a week to say goodbye to their families, to their kids, to their community, to their jobs for a 1-year deployment on the border that has claimed the lives of 9 of them so far. Not a single one killed by a migrant, by the way. I know that we can do better. And here's my simple proposition. And this is what I've heard from Republicans, Democrats, big city folks, and those who live in small towns in rural counties. We want you to follow the law when you come to this country. We want our laws to follow our values, our needs, and our economic interests. If you want to come here and work a job, say in those cotton fields in Lamesa, or the cotton gin in Roscoe, on one of the construction teams here in Fort Worth in Tarrant County, there should be a safe, legal, orderly path for you to be able to come here and to do that, right? If you want to join a family member, and you're in Mexico today, you're in India today, you're in the Philippines today, where that wait time is 20 years to do it the right way. I don't condone anybody jumping that line and crossing in between ports of entry, but I know what that might feel like to have to wait 20 years to see a family member and why you might be tempted to do that. What about a safe, legal, orderly path to join your family, right? And then, for those asylum seekers and refugees who are simply trying to come to a country comprised of asylum seekers and refugees, think about this. We have this unique capacity for empathy, alone in the animal kingdom. I mean, I don't know, maybe dolphins and whales have it as well, but I know for sure that we do. When you read a story, and there are so many of them, like the one about the 53 migrants who died in the back of that container in San Antonio, Texas, use that power to think about what would compel you. After you had made a 2,000-mile journey, the length of this continent, you left El Salvador or Honduras, and you traveled on foot with your 11-year-old daughter. Some of that you got on top of, but never inside of a train called the Beast or La Bestia. And finally you get to America, to our front door, right here at Texas. And all you're trying to do is make sure that you and your baby girl are okay. And this smuggler or this coyote says, I need you to get back in this trailer. It's Texas. It's the summer. It's hot outside, and there's no air conditioning inside. You don't just step into that trailer. It's probably higher than your chest. Somebody's got to boost you up, or there's a step stool or a ladder. Imagine what it would take for you to get in there. And now imagine turning around and looking down at your daughter and reaching out your hand and pulling her up in there with you. You don't do this for kicks. You don't do it to come here and steal somebody's job or place in society or replace them as an American in this country. You do this probably because it is the only way to guarantee her safety, even if you know you must risk her life in the process. What if, for those who seek asylum in this country, who are now waiting 6 years to have their claims adjudicated in refugee camps in Matamoros, in Ciudad Juarez, what if instead it was 6 months or 6 weeks to get them an answer, a safe, legal, orderly path to do the right thing? And then there's no more opening for demagogues like Abbott to vilify and demonize immigrants, to pit us against each other, to try to make us afraid of our fellow human beings, our fellow Americans, and our fellow Texans. Because I'll tell you this, in El Paso, we know what the logical conclusion of that looks like. The day before, the 3rd of August, 2019, Greg Abbott sends out a mailer to Texas, and he says about this so-called invasion, Texans, we must defend ourselves. We must take matters into our own hands. Not too far from here in Allen, Texas, a guy puts an AK-47 into his car, drives 650 miles on the 3rd of August, arrives in El Paso, posts a manifesto online saying, I have come to El Paso to repel the invasion of immigrants that I have been warned about. Walks into that Walmart, and in a city that does not lose 20 people to murder in an average year, he kills 23 people in a matter of minutes, telling cops afterwards, I came to kill Mexicans. Now, we are so much bigger and better and stronger than all of that. When we meet these challenges with solutions instead of stunts, when we ensure there's that safe, legal, orderly path, when we actually have a governor who leads and makes sure that we do the right thing at the right time for all of us together, we're going to be able to solve these problems and do so much better for one another. You all with me? Here's what I need. Here's what I need. 300,000 people in Tarrant County did not vote in 2020. 125,000 have since entered the rolls. Young people who've just aged in, citizens who just naturalized. 425,000 votes and voices we have yet to hear from. When we all ran together in 2018, we only lost to Cruz by 216,000 votes. Ladies and gentlemen, the margin of victory is in Tarrant County, and we got to turn it out. Let's make sure that we vote tomorrow. Please sign up and volunteer. We love you, Tarrant County. Les agradezco. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you.
Don't we have a giant killer? And the world knows it. On Tuesday night, Joy Reid will be here. She's gonna be at the Flying Saucer because she's gonna interview our giant killer. So, it's free, but you need to get there early. It's at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So get off from work, get to the Flying Center. So